Welcome to Tar Heel Talks. I'm your host, Chad Mason, a UNC graduate and lifelong North Carolina resident who loves learning about the people who make this state great. Each week I talk to an inspirational leader with North Carolina roots so they can share the secrets to their success. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tar Heel Talks. Today we have a very special guest. He is a fellow UNC alumni, just like myself. He started off his career in investment banking, private equity, and then he went on to be the co-founder and chief revenue officer, where he's currently at DealCloud. And this is a company that I see every day, and it's something that I'm really excited to talk about. Ben, thanks for being on the show.
Chad, thanks for having me. We're excited to be here.
So, first, I want to get started off with, I think we grew up right around the same area in the Triangle, and I kind of want to hear about your background and your childhood.
Yeah, sure. I grew up North Carolina native, born in Durham, and spent most of my childhood and high school in Asheville, North Carolina, up in the western part of the state, and went to high school at a place called Carolina Day there in Asheville, and then became a Tar Heel in 2003, and spent the college days at Chapel Hill before moving on to Charlotte for the start of professional career. So it's been North Carolina through and through for the majority of my life.
Awesome. I love it. I'm a fellow North Carolina born and raised, and I've lived in a couple other cities for internships and things like that, but definitely love being home back in Charlotte where I am now. Let's go back to your college days, because obviously I love UNC. Everyone I talk with loves UNC. What were those days like, and what made you choose Chapel Hill?
I think you can start by looking at North Carolina as a state. I mean, we have an incredible university system, and UNC was really from a cost and education perspective. The ROI of being an in-state student was really strong. So it was a great education for a very reasonable price, and that was a big driver for going to staying in state and going to a state school. And I think just the breadth of the offering there. I did a chemistry and pre-med curriculum, but also had the opportunity to kind of dual track that with a business school curriculum. So there was just, the university had a ton to offer, and obviously also had a lot of fun when we were there. It's a great place to be a student.
Oh, yeah. And when you were there, did you go into college kind of knowing the path you wanted to go down, or how did you figure out what you wanted to do once you graduated?
It was a pretty interesting story. I always really enjoyed math and science, and I think initially thought, as I think a lot of students do, when I'll be a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that. But then when you start to kind of explore the options and the career options, and they were really, the university was really good at bringing all of these different businesses and recruiting opportunities to campus. So I was kind of dual tracking a business major and a chemistry major, and then started leaning a little bit more towards the business side. It was back in 2004, 5, 6, 7, which was really the heyday of the financial industry before the mortgage crisis, and the banking jobs coming out of school were pretty attractive. So I ended up going that direction, not really thinking it would be a career, but really just thinking it would be a great first step where you could get a lot of exposure to a number of different business models, kind of being in a investment banking advisory role, and was very fortunate to land with a firm in Charlotte, and had a great experience there. So I mean, it was definitely UNC that put those wheels in motion, because they were bringing all of those businesses to campus and really exposing their students. And I was at the Keenan Flagler Business School. They were, great exposure for the business school students to a lot of those big corporate jobs in New York, and also, a lot of the middle market and boutique firms in North Carolina and the rest of the country.
Right, and you bring up a very interesting point. All of this was in the heyday, pre-crisis, and I kind of want to talk about navigating that experience and what it was like coming out during the heyday of investment banking, and you come out and you're taking this very prestigious path, and it's something that's very envious of all finance students across the country. What was it like? What was your internships like? How did you choose your firms, and what was the actual experience like? Because we know it can be a grind.
It was really it was kind of about picking the right culture fit, and it was great because the market was in such great shape when I was finishing and coming out of school, that there were a lot of jobs because of the health of the economy at the time. So for me, it was, I found the firm name was EdgeView Partners, and it was started by a lot of investment bankers that were part of the Bowles Hollowell Connor Investment Bank, which was started by Erskine Bowles and became Wachovia Securities and the Wachovia Investment Bank. So I had an opportunity really to learn from some very tenured professionals that had built some great brands, especially in North Carolina at Bowles Hollowell and Wachovia. So I think that was really the driving factor for choosing that particular firm, and it was a boutique, and I think we were about 75 bankers at the time. It was still privately owned and managed, so there was a lot of upside for joining the business like that.
Awesome. What do you think were some of the top skills you learned as you got out of college, entered the professional world, made that transition? What do you think that job really helped you? Because obviously we know the hours are long, we know the work can get a little intense, but what do you think helped you the most, not only with your just career, but your entrepreneurial, where you're at now?
It's interesting. I think now being 10 plus years past that point and out of school, you look back and you really realize how little about the professional world when you're green and right out of school. And I was fortunate to land at a place where the partners and professionals there were willing to spend significant amounts of time and energy on training the junior folks and the new analysts. So it was a great experience, and I would say it ranged. Really, you just learn a lot of the blocking and tackling, right? How to do proper business communication, how to manage, professional environment, just the normal stuff. But we also got, the firm I was working with, we were an advisor to businesses that were looking to sell either, to large strategic buyers or into the private equity community, whether that was for growth capital or to recap the investment interest that was there. And so it was a great, quick education in corporate finance. And we got exposure to a lot of different business models. So you had opportunities to work with companies in the energy sector, the building product sector, the healthcare and business services sectors. And so you learn a little bit about each of those industries, and you learn a lot about the different business models of the companies that you're working with in those industries. So it can be a demanding job, but at the same time, it also is pretty rewarding because you get a great education across a lot of different industries and business models.
So you're working at EdgeView, and you're putting in your time there, learning a lot. You're getting mentored by all these senior bankers, and they end up getting bought by a middle market bank, Piper Jaffray. And what was that experience like? Did you kind of know what you want to do? Because I know you went private equity afterwards, which is what a lot of investment banking analysts aim to do. What was your thought process through this whole time?
Yeah, I was really excited for the firm and the partners there to be able to, either sell their business or combine their business with an even larger investment bank. That was great. They had built a great brand and a really solid team and platform. So that was exciting. But at the same time, at most of those firms, the analyst program is really rotational, right? So when you join a firm at that level, it's kind of a, I would call it, 2 to 3 year, almost like internship period where, after you put in your 2 or 3 years, they encourage you to move on and learn more at other firms. And they were instrumental in helping me find a job in the private equity industry. And fortunately, I was actually able to find one in North Carolina and in Charlotte, and had an opportunity to join a firm called Falfurrias Capital Partners, which was started by Hugh McCall and Mark Oken. And they were the former CEO and the former CFO of Bank of America, and that they had just built an incredible business at B of A, taking the balance sheet from, I think it was $1 billion or close to $1 billion when Mr. McCall took over as the CEO, and I think when he retired, it was $60 to $65 billion balance sheet. So he and Mark was a big part of that. They had built an incredible business there, and it was an opportunity to learn from some operators who, were very well respected and well known in North Carolina and Charlotte and certainly across the country. So it was that was an exciting transition as well, to kind of go from the advisory side of the equation to the principal investing side, where you're looking at actually making investments in these companies and not just advising those businesses.
Right. And when you were there, can you remember that specific moment where you kind of turned that switch on and you were like, hey, I'm learning this investment skill set. Maybe this is something that I kind of want to eventually start my own thing one day and take the skills I've learned and apply it to something that I have my own equity in.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it that business dovetails directly into the DealCloud story. So at Falfurrias, we were building processes for making strategic investments in companies, and we had built a software platform internally at Falfurrias. A number of the partners there had a very strong vision and a lot of experience about, we believe that we can bring economies of scale to our business, bring efficiency to our business by using software and technology to help us evaluate the different companies that we're making investments in. And so we built this technology internally. I was a part of that, but the vision was really led by the senior management team at Falfurrias. And similar to the investment banking business, when you join a private equity firm in a junior role, oftentimes that's a similar kind of 2 to 3 year program before folks graduate to business school or maybe to working directly in a company. And instead of taking that traditional route of going to business school or working with an operating company, the partners there said, hey, we've built this really cool technology platform. It's supporting our business, and we believe there's a market for the rest of the private equity community, investment banking community, where they may want to buy or use this software that we've built. So they were instrumental in the creation of the original technology platform, and they encouraged me to, really with their blessing and encouragement, spin out of their firm and take this technology platform that we had built and start a new venture. So that was how the formation of DealCloud happened, and we got pretty quick traction in the market because we had already built a product that we knew, could support a lot of other private equity firms like the one they were running at Falfurrias.
Right, and I want to kind of get were you confident going into this venture? Because here you are, this guy, he's done all the right things. He's gone to the great school. He's gotten the investment banking job. He's gotten the private equity job. And you're in a very stable position at this point and have obviously formed some great relationships. Was it a little nerve-wracking to kind of go and start, with this startup that maybe if it doesn't work out, no one really knows the name, no one knows what happened? Were you nervous at all?
Naive may even be a better word than nervous. I think nervous is a good one, but even with the banking and private equity background, I had not been a part of an operating company or run a business. And so it was a very steep learning curve for me when we got started. Going from an analyst type role where you're evaluating businesses and industries into actually building a company is a pretty big transition. One that I'm not sure I was particularly qualified for at the time, but what I think where I was encouraged was we had already built a product, right? So when we started the company, we really weren't starting from scratch. We were entering the market with technology that was strong and we believed already had product market fit. So we really had our feet under the ground from day one. And then secondarily, I had, there was some seed capital from the, Mr. McCall, Mark Oaken, and partners at Palfurious, as well as from some other local individuals and business leaders in Charlotte that got behind the company. And so there was a big support network that was put in place and built really for me in the business to support it getting off the ground. So it's definitely nerve-wracking. It's definitely a lot of hard work, but at the same time, I was in a pretty fortunate position to where we had technology and we had a team of investors and board members who were actively participating in creating success for the company.
So you talked about some of the challenges and the learning curve you had when you first made that transition. Can you talk about maybe, specifically what stood out to you as a time where you're like, maybe a time of doubt or a time where you maybe questioned your decision-making? What were some of those challenges?
I think when you go from a role where you're spending your time in a very analytical manner where you're analyzing businesses or building models, to working with a team, right? And to hiring people and creating a strategy and then trying to execute on that. The skill set of learning how to hire well, be a good manager, and motivate your team members so that you're able to execute on the plan and meet the target and the objectives is a pretty new process. So becoming a manager or becoming, that leader to motivate a team was something that was not what I had been doing in the banking and private equity business. And so there was a gap, personal gap in terms of skills there for me. And that was something that, in the first couple of years, I had to work really hard on to try and kind of, fill that role in the business. So I would say, for other entrepreneurs or folks who are first timers or thinking about starting a business, it's really important to, surround yourself with really high quality individuals and make sure you have a plan for incenting and motivating and rewarding your team members. And that's it's a pretty steep learning curve when it's your first time around.
Right. And obviously you've been able to not just overcome or surpass, all those challenges that you face. DealCloud is very well known in the finance community. It's been around for several years now. When did you kind of have that feeling that you were like, hey, this is going to work out?
I think we had success early on, right? Right when we spun the technology out and created DealCloud, it was late 2009, early 2010, which is, almost 8 years ago now. It was a slow build. In year one, I think we had 4 or 5 people and 10 or 15 customers. In year two, it was 10 people and 40 customers. In year three, it was 13 people and 60 to 70 customers. It was just a very methodical and consistent build. So, in large part, I'm not sure if there was one particular moment, but it was about going in every day and working diligently day in and day out and executing on a plan, that you set for the team. And we did that pretty consistently year over year. And, just in the last kind of 2 to 3 years, we've had some really explosive and exciting growth. And our team, in 2018, our team will probably exceed about 100 employees. And we just opened an office in London and almost 350 clients globally now. So it's been a really fun ride, but every day is a consistent and kind of diligent effort to just get in there and execute.
So let's talk about your role, Chief Revenue Officer. What exactly does that mean, and what does your day-to-day look like?
Oh, it changes every day, but I maintain responsibility for the growth targets of the business. We have a sales team that's out selling. We have an inside sales team that builds our pipeline and is out drumming up new opportunities and business and educating the market on what we're doing. We have a marketing department and team that helps create materials and all of our communication, whether that's advertising or white papers or thought leadership pieces that we push out and try to share with our current and prospective clients, and then also manage an account management effort that takes care of our current clients. So when it comes to not only growing and adding new clients, but making sure we're taking good care of the clients we've already sold, I help manage all of those efforts across the business and make sure not only that we're growing, but also that we're not losing, any clients that we've worked hard over the past couple of years to secure. So we spend a lot of time focusing not just on growing the business, but on making sure that the clients that leverage or purchase our software are driving value for their firm, right? That all of their users are engaged and adopting the tool, and that we're really creating more value for the client than they're paying for the tool, right? That's how we maintain a really high renewal rate and very sticky relationships with our clients.
Right. And now you're in this position where you are hiring people, and you said you're hiring like crazy. You're getting new employees. What exactly do you look for when you're looking on to bring in someone, and what have you noticed that your top performers do that maybe others don't?
It's a great question. If you look at the different functions of our business, we have a product and engineering team that build our software and maintain it and constantly improve it. We have an implementation and deployment team that when we sign up a new client, they get involved from a project management standpoint and make sure that we configure the technology and map data from their historical systems. We've got sales and marketing and account management. We've got a back office. And I think each different function of the business requires, a recruiting pipeline of unique skill sets. So it's all over the map where we pull from. We do look heavily to the Charlotte community. There's one of the great things about being in Charlotte and having a team in Charlotte is there's great talent and resources. So we pull from the North Carolina University school system, whether that's UNC, NC State, Duke. UNC Charlotte has given us a ton of great candidates. And then for some of the more senior roles, we also pull from the local talent, right? If you look at businesses like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Ally and Duke Energy, there is an incredible amount of highly talented and well-trained professionals in the Charlotte community. And so we're very fortunate to be able to tap into those businesses and sometimes even recruit individuals with meaningful number of years of experience away from those companies. So we've got a great, lots of openings, but also a great pipeline of candidates to fill those spots, just given the strong resource pool in North Carolina and even in Charlotte in particular.
Wow. And, I want to talk about a little bit how it's been for you personally going through all these different changes. Have you been able to stay in North Carolina? Has it taken a toll? Obviously, investment banking and private equity aren't known to be, the most work-life friendly jobs, and now you're an entrepreneur, which is obviously a 24/7 type job. How have you handled that?
Oh, I'd say it's a lot of fun. I mean, we have an awesome team. I love going to work every day, and I'm really proud of what we've built. And in many ways, sometimes we feel like we're just getting started, even though we've been at it for 7 to 8 years. So I'd say it's been there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but it's been a real pleasure watching a company grow and succeed, and most importantly, watching the growth of our team members who contribute to that. So every day we get better as a company, we get better as a team, and watching a college graduate go from an analyst role at our firm, to being a project manager or running a team is really exciting. So all good on that front, and I think when we look at the future, we feel like we've got really the strongest product in the market today. Our win rates with new clients would indicate that we've really innovated a platform for this particular vertical market, and now it's all about continuing to build a high quality team that provides a great product and great service to our clients. And so day in and day out, we're just laser focused on looking for great people who are a good cultural fit with our business, and who have a pretty high energy level and a high cadence to support that investment banking and private equity community.
Now that you've had all this success and you're opening new locations, and obviously you're still in a high growth stage for DealCloud right now, but down the line, what do you envision for not only yourself but for DealCloud going forward? What's the ultimate goal?
I think TBD on the answer to that. We want to build a big, great company. We've been able to create a lot of jobs in Charlotte. We've been able to disrupt the market and provide a really innovative solution. And so, in the near term, the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years, I'd say it's really just more of the same, right? Continue to innovate in our sector and scale our team and our client base. We're spending a lot of time right now focusing on the global community. So Charlotte gave us our start. We've had a lot of success in New York and Chicago, San Francisco, Dallas, Houston. And over the last 2 years, our business has really grown in London and Western Europe. Just in 2017, we opened up a new office in London, and we have a number of team members over there now. So that's been an exciting development for us. And we started to dip our toe into South America, Africa, and Asia. We have some of our first clients there over the past 12 to 18 months. So as we look at the future, I think more of the same, but also doing it on a global scale. That's really how we continue to keep the momentum and the pace of our current growth rates.
Throughout this process, what has been the most rewarding experience for you, and what lessons from those experiences do you think that are the most valuable that you can pass on to the younger generation that's listening to this?
It's a good question. I think being committed to the vision, right? If you think you have product market fit, and if you're getting positive results, that means you probably have a good business model that you can grow and scale, but that doesn't happen overnight. And so the amount of time and commitment it takes a while to build a business. And, there's stories like Facebook and Snapchat, but there's only a couple of those out there. And I think the rest of the world, builds businesses methodically and over the long term. And so just, as an entrepreneur, just maintaining that commitment to the vision and the daily execution is really one of the most important things you can do. Not getting sidetracked and, not being tempted to go in other directions. And then, also just understanding how important it is to build a great team, right? As businesses grow, you may have founded a company, but in large part, you're no longer responsible for how the business is growing, right? We have great team members who are adding those new clients and taking care of those clients and engineering, the next innovations in our product and delivering that product. And so you remain a part of the strategy and the vision, but in large part, the execution falls to the team. So it's really important to focus on that team, right? Make sure they're motivated, properly incented, well taken care of, that you have a culture that supports greatness and innovation, and one where people want to get up and go to work every day. So we work hard on those areas of our business right now to make sure we're maintaining an environment that is creates great outcomes, but it's also a lot of fun. Like, it's a great place to go to work every day. So I would say those are some of the most important aspects of being an entrepreneur, and also just being a good steward of your investors' capital. So you hear a lot about these tech companies that raise big rounds and tons of funding, and that's exciting and great, but it's really important to make sure that you're a good steward of the backers and the investors who have faith in the company. So we work really hard to make sure that we're meeting targets and providing a good return to the individuals and the institutions who believe in the business and back the company.
Well, Ben, your story is especially inspiring to me, and I want to acknowledge you for being able to take those risks, working hard and doing the right thing, and building something that is definitely making a splash, and not just, the Charlotte and finance community, but globally now with these new international offices. And I want to ask this last question that I ask all my guests, and this is a North Carolina-focused podcast, and you're a successful guy, North Carolina, born and raised, went to UNC. What do you envision for North Carolina going forward, and what do you think the state can do to really make it a destination going forward?
It's a great question, and I think our you can answer it in so many ways, but it's an awesome state, right? It's a great place to live. It's a great place to build a company. We've got incredible infrastructure. Our state legislature leaders have done such an excellent job of making it a business-friendly environment from a tax perspective. They've done a great job of creating an educational infrastructure for the state that provides high-quality talent. We've got some of the best transportation hubs. Between, the Charlotte and Raleigh airport, you can get anywhere in the country on one flight, and you can do it inexpensively, right? So it's a great place to run and build a business, and it's a great place to build a family. So I think the state's in really good position. You hear a lot about transplants from the Northeastern Corridor, from the West Coast relocating to North Carolina. You see a lot of large Fortune 500 companies and global businesses saying, hey, North Carolina is a great place for us to have a headquarters or to locate a big team. And I think, maybe finally, it's really started to be a little bit of a tech hub, right? You have some of the biggest financial institutions in the world, and to run those big financial institutions, you need a lot of technology. And so the amount of technology talent in North Carolina and Charlotte is so strong that it's going to be easier and easier to build, future technology leaders and great technology businesses in the state. So we're pretty excited about it. We love being there, and we're going to continue to invest in our team and certainly our location there.
And that is a wrap. I would like to thank Ben again for joining me for the episode. I certainly learned a lot from our short chat, and everyone, I got a lot of great episodes coming out that you need to hear. As always, please leave me feedback at tarheeltalks.com and let me know who else you'd like to have on the show. I will see you next week.